Welcome everybody to the Transcend and Succeed show. I'm your host Dawn Livingston, and today I am honoured to have Joan of Angels, also known as Dr Joan Hangarter, joining us. Now, Dr Joan is an international speaker, a visionary, intuitive guide and an amazing spiritual artist, captivating audiences worldwide with her mesmerizing artwork and profound insights. With a career spanning over 4 decades, she has established herself as a pioneer in the realm of visionary art, blending sacred symbolism with contemporary aesthetics to digitally create truly transformative pieces. Dr. Joan is on a mission to ignite the divine spark within everyone and help them to turn up their lights. So welcome to the show, Dr. Joan.
I am happy to be here, Dawn. Thank you so much.
It's lovely to have you. So, can you start then by telling us how you ended up on this path and doing what you're doing?
How I became Joan of Angels, huh?
Yes.
Yes, exciting story. So, I'm going to start with telling you all that I was a very shy child. My dad was pretty abusive. I was pretty traumatized, and I stayed mostly in the closet. So I was a scared little child, had no idea what I was doing, ran away at 3. But I loved people, and I loved people. I could feel their pain. I had a lot of empathy. I can feel it. I'm an intuitive. And so I developed a lot of compassion and a strong desire to help people. So much so that when I grew up, I became a chiropractor because I realized that would be a way to put all my gifts together. And I went on to become a very successful chiropractor. Between 30 and 50, I was one of the top chiropractors in the country, in the U.S. Very proud of myself. And I had 2 kids. I had a beautiful house. I had my Jaguar. I had a great boyfriend. So I thought, until he borrowed $1,000 from me, and then $5,000, and then $30,000. And before you know it, within the year, Dawn, I discovered it was $500,000. I had given him my complete life savings.
Oh my goodness.
And during that time, I also discovered he had addiction problems. He was a gambler. He had drug abuse problems. And worst of all, he had an anger problem. And the night that he came home and he held his guitar over my head and was about to kill me, and I had to call 911. So I had to call my kids to call 911. That my life really changed. And at that point, once we escaped, I realized that I really had another calling. I wanted to help women, especially women, learn to set boundaries and learn to become independent and take care of themselves and not find themselves in situations like I had found myself in. And so I began to realize that chiropractic wasn't big enough for me anymore. I wanted to adjust more than one person at a time. I wanted to heal, inspire, uplift thousands of people at a time. And it caused me to start to get into the work that I do now. And I wanted to not only help people, but I wanted them to live their best life. How do you live your dreams, follow your passions, stir your creativity, and actually live your best life ever? And I went on a mission to do that. And that's how I got started doing what I do. In 2013, again struggling, I heard these voices and I asked for a miracle. And what I heard was pay 33 angels in 30 days. And after the third time, I said yes. And I knew that following that intuitive guidance I was getting was my way forward to miracles. And that's how I became Joan of Angels. And that's how I really began to transform my life from hiding in the closet to speaking on stage.
That's quite a story, my goodness. I know that a lot of people, they seek to connect with their angels or their spirit guides. So are you able to give them some tips about how to do that, or, how to establish the connection and how to deepen the connection if they actually already have it started?
Well, the first thing I found out when I started to work with the angels, because I channeled the angels to paint. I had no idea how to paint really. I had no idea how to do angels, and I would close my eyes. So I began with meditation, and I do a very simple meditation with the angels as I send my roots down to the center of the earth. Mm-hmm. And then I send my antenna up to the heavens, literally walking between heaven and earth. And I bring that energy down, letting it flood all over you. And what I found out was that, yes, the angels can come down and talk to us or work with us, but it's far better if we can raise our own frequency to get to that of the angels. And so in the work, we work on how do I raise my own vibration? How do I turn up my light? How do I turn up that antenna so that my vibratory frequency is higher than the third dimensional reality, so that I step into a fifth dimensional reality, a fifth dimensional frequency in order to connect. And I teach that in my work, and I show people, and I do that on my talks and on all of my lectures. It's a way of connecting, and it's a way of changing the frequency. And then I do other simple things. So I could sit in the corner in the morning when I wake up with a cup of tea and one of my oracle decks that I might use, and I'll ask questions. How shall I begin my day? How do I stay aligned? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And I'll usually get answers. It's like, well, you need to get up and have breakfast, Joan. Like sometimes I think that they'll actually be pragmatic. You actually need to go take care of your body right now. Or they'll say, well, why don't you work on this project? But what is for the highest good, not just of myself, but for all concerned. Because one thing I've learned is that I'm here to help people raise their frequency. And when I do that, it raises the Earth's frequency.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Collectively raises it. You start off with one and then it has like a cumulative effect.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. We are contagious. I tell people I'm infectious. I infect you with this high vibration and this desire to be your best self ever.
Yeah. And I love doing that as well. Absolutely love the feeling of it. So how then do you, I'm sure you've come up against this type of question every so often in the work that you do. So how do you differentiate then between genuine spiritual guidance and I suppose the imagination or wishful thinking? I'd like to hear that from your perspective.
That is such a great question, because that gets down to intuition and how do you trust your gut? Like, how do you trust these messages and how do you get your logical mind out? So part of that gets also down to the fact that we get these messages and our logical mind goes, you're crazy. Are you kidding? Yes. Or it might say, yes, oh, that's so amazing. And then an hour later, you tell someone and they go, that's nuts. Or what were you thinking? Or where are you going to get the money to do that? So part of us listening and understanding is getting rid of some of the filters that we have. Mm-hmm. Are we hearing someone else's voice? It says, Joan, you're calling yourself Joan of Angels. Are you nuts? Or are you, so I want to be clear on that we actually have to learn to hear that voice and to trust it. Now, the way I learned to trust it is, does it make my heart sing? Mm-hmm. It's very basic. If you're getting a message from spirit and from the good guys and the good energies, your heart will sing. You'll go, oh my God, I really want to do that. That actually is amazing. If it doesn't give you that aha, that's the answer feeling, it's not. Plain and simple. It is not rocket science listening to your guides. It's actually like, I'm getting a message. How does this message make me feel?
Yeah.
If you're scared, that's another thing. That could be because it's such a big thing that you're afraid. But first of all, feel into your heart. How does your heart feel with that? And that should be your guide always.
Yeah. And do you feel light? You know, and if it's a good light feeling, then that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, and you have that excitement about it. Like it suddenly stirs you and you get a yes. When your soul says yes, there's nothing like it, really.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it makes you feel all bubbly and warm inside, doesn't it?
Right. But then again, then you have to, not only do you need to say yes, but then that action step, do you feel confident enough to take action on what you heard? And I usually recommend that you don't go running around and tell everyone what your guides told you. Like if I had told people that they told me to call myself Joan of Angels, I probably would never have done it, because the response I got from loved ones was, are you kidding? It wasn't the best. And so don't run around and ask everyone to confirm what you're hearing, because you're the one who heard it specifically from your guides. It has to resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to feel right. And you've got to have that gut feel and learn to trust the gut feel. Learn and understand what the body is telling you, because that's the truth. It's always the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you don't have a resonance with it, if you go, that's off the wall and nothing I would ever do, then it's wrong. It's not, skip it. Next, next. But we want to get your intuition to the point that you say yes. And I teach my intuition class a couple of times a year. And when I teach it, it's one thing I tell everyone: get a notebook, and in your notebook, write down all the times you listen to that voice within, or your guides, your angels, however you want to call it, and all the times you didn't listen. Because what you're going to learn is the times you didn't listen are more important than the times you did, because what you're learning is how you might have screwed up or taken a more difficult path because you didn't listen.
I think that's great. I really like that, because if you've got a record of it, then it's in black and white, and that's definitely what's going on. I really like that.
Years ago, when I first started painting the angels, or before, when I wasn't really listening to that voice so much, I had gone to my accountant and I had 3 sets of tax returns in my hand, my kids and I go to my trunk of my car and I start to turn open. I hear a voice, random. It says, don't put don't put them in the trunk. And I think I said it out loud. What? Are you crazy? Why not? And the voice said, they're going to fly out. The trunk will open, they'll fly out. And I said, really, you're nuts. Saying this to myself, like, you're nuts. No. And I put the tax returns in the trunk. I drove. I stopped at a light. Somehow I must have stopped short. The trunk opened. All the taxes flew out, and I couldn't get out of the car there because it was a dangerous intersection. And by the time I stopped, of course, there were no tax returns left in the car.
Oh.
3 days later, I got a phone call from an LA Public Works Department employee repeating to me what my daughter's Social Security number was. So
that's not good.
I say that if you get a voice like that, pay attention. If you don't
listen,
right?
Wow. Oh well, that's a lesson. That is a real lesson to learn from, isn't it? Goodness.
Because sometimes the messages don't make sense.
Yeah, that's very true. So it's learning to trust that when it comes through. Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you tell us then when you've had a personal impact, or somebody that you've coached, that you have been teaching them to connect with their spirit guides and their angels, and how they have had it's had a profound impact on their life?
Well, yes. So when we start to call in the angels in our life, the benefits are magnificent. And so I've worked with several people. I had one client that was having a soul essence portrait with me, but when she reached out to me, she wasn't ready yet. She was a brilliant woman with a lot of soul aspects and really a lot of intuitive skills, but she was in a chaotic state. Mm-hmm. And so I coached her for quite a while until she was learning to listen to her guides, her angels, and it was quite profound. And one day she gets on Zoom, and I look at her and I hear a voice, "You're ready." And she was ready because she had stepped more into confidence and in state of balance and had learned to call in the angels, had learned to house clear, had learned to let go of what doesn't serve. And then one day she was ready and we went on to do that soul essence portrait because of that. But I couldn't do it until she had reached this new state.
Right. Okay, that's great. And let's talk a little bit about the ascension process. How did you first become aware of the ascension process, and what inspired you to guide others through it?
Well, I think I've been on the ascension path most of my life. If we talk about ascension as learning how to raise your consciousness and step into higher dimensional frequencies and, a different place, from the time I was 20, when I came to California, I moved into a spiritual community and into an ashram because I wanted to know more. I knew that there was something else, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was more than this three-dimensional world we were on. So I began it sort of blindfolded. I had no idea what I was doing. But every step I noticed in my ascension, it's been a process of waking up piece by piece, becoming a chiropractor and discovering that when I just put hands on people, that they could be healed, that brought in a new layer for me. Or then understanding through meditation that I can connect with other dimensions and angels. And so I kind of fell into my spiritual path or my ascension path while I was on it. The biggest upgrade came once I began painting angels, because then I learned how to connect with the angels, close my eyes and paint, and it would put me in a transcendental kind of state. And as I became more aware of the dimensions, I realized, I'm going from the third dimension to the fifth dimension to the seventh dimension. So I was in it as I realized I was doing it.
Yeah, I think that's our journey, isn't it? It's the whole ascension process, learning and expanding and growing and in little chunks, just small steps.
Yeah, and for me, it's really my attitude when I go through life. I don't know, an apple that has a bite in it, or a glass that's half full or half empty. It depends on our perspective. And it depends how we reframe our challenges, whether we let them turn us into victims, or we can go, even though things aren't perfect, I'm having a great day. I will have a great day. I expect a great day. Money is coming everywhere. And I've discovered that the more we make these phrases like, I'm abundant, things are turning out far better than I expect, only good things happen to me, then only good things start happening to me faster than the speed of light. When you're at a higher state, your thoughts manifest very rapidly. They materialize pretty rapidly. So when you practice your affirmations and you affirm it and claim it, it happens even faster. And that's when it gets exciting. It's like, I call it the miracle wave. You're like on a surfboard and you found that wave that's going to take you from here to China, and you've worked hard to get on it, but then you're on it and you can expand upon it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does make sense. Yes, and I agree. I absolutely agree. So from your coaching and your teaching and from the clients that you've had, then what are the main blocks that people are coming up against?
Well, that's a great question. When I teach my intuition class, the first thing I say is, on a scale of 1 to 10, who feels confident of their abilities to even learn this? How committed are you? And so I've learned to look at people and ask, how committed are you to your wellness? I found in my chiropractic days that a person would come in with 20 different symptoms, but they really weren't committed to health. They were committed to their symptoms. Those symptoms got them where they are, and so they didn't actually want to let go of their complaint. So the first thing to look at is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to transforming, to your own transformation, to your own upliftment? You might find you might not be. And then the second thing is how do we let go of everything that stands in our way? other people. You might not want to say yes to something because your spouse might not like you anymore, or they might be judgmental. So letting go of other people's opinions of you, other people's curses, like those things have to be looked at, of letting go of everything that no longer serves you. Maybe you've outgrown your beliefs, but you're still sticking with them until you have a session with someone like me or Dawn, and you understand, oh, wait, that's old. That's the old me.
That's the familiar past, isn't it? Yeah, we're all stuck in it.
And that's so easy to do. But as I tell everyone, you cannot take your luggage to heaven. It just doesn't get there. It's too heavy. You don't want it. And if you think about all your problems and how they weigh you down, then we can start. How do we start to eliminate, the first ones, the easy ones, and then we get down to the victim states. You might keep going on and on and on and on. But it's practice. It's learning how to practice new ways of being.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting away from that, that past, which is all we've experienced, really. So we tend to create a lot more of that, don't we? We need to change things in this present moment so that we can then create a better future.
Every past experience, no matter how horrific, because you know what? So many people on our path, Dawn, have had difficult lifetimes, or difficult families this lifetime. And in a way, I feel like it's the dark has a way of knowing who's going to be high vibrational, and they come along and do everything they can to make sure you don't make it. And people and places and things come into our life, even from our childhood, that are meant to knock you off your path. And so if you can look at it and go, oh, that was just another challenge so that I can learn to say yes to who I am and let go of that. It's all learning and turning it into lessons.
Yeah, and it's a big thing, letting go. That seems to be what it's all about at the moment.
Right, letting go.
Let's go, yeah. Because you
Go
can't.
with the flow.
Yes, go with the flow. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now's a good time. We're just going to have a quick pause for a quick break, but stay with us because Dr. Joan is going to tell us her fun fact. So we will be right back. Welcome back to the Transcend and Succeed show, and I'm here today with Joan of Angels, and we are talking about connection, the divine, all about connecting with our angels. So before the break, Dr. Joan, you're going to tell us your fun fact. So tell us what that is.
I am going to tell you my fun fact, and it has to do with the fact that I wasn't listening to the guidance I was receiving, like I've been telling all of you to. And I went to a psychic. I had just started painting the angels. And I was at a big yoga festival, and I stopped by at a palm reader because I had heard about him, right? So he's reading my palm, looking like this. He said, "Oh, did you know that you were supposed to be famous already, but you blew it?"
Well, thanks for telling me that.
That was one of the most distressing things I had ever heard.
I bet it was.
And then he kind of patted my hand. He saw how crestfallen I was. He pats my hand. He says, "Well, don't worry, dear. It's going to come around again, but it won't be the same as it could have been." Now that was a really big wake-up call for me. It was like someone had come along and slapped me on the cheek to wake me up, and I realized that paying attention and listening was going to be really important to me. And that second time hasn't come yet, but it will.
Soon, very soon.
Honestly, very soon.
Yes. Okay, I want to share some of your digital artistry because I think they're absolutely fascinating. So we're going to take a little look at these just now. And Joan, if you can explain, what was going on at the time that you created them, and just tell us, what this painting is.
Okay, the one on the left, the beautiful face over there, is Elizabeth April. In fact, she's a thought leader in the community, the spiritual community. She had a soul essence portrait with me. Now, in the soul essence portrait, I do a deep dive with you, a soul essence consultation, and then I go back to my room, basically, and I start working on art, and I do these all digitally, and I create a variety of different soul aspects that come through. And then I put them all in a video, and I sit down with you and we look at this video, and the one that comes up the most, we usually agree. This one was the one that Elizabeth felt most resonated with her from past lives and this lives. Why? Because it was an image that characterized her devotion, her seriousness as a spiritual warrior, and that devotion that she has to following the guidance she receives. She's wearing tremendous protection around her as she walks through the world, basically as a spiritual warrior and a very high vibrational, loving, but compassionate spiritual warrior. And that's who she is. And that's the painting in the end that we chose for her, because she says when she looks at it, I have a testimonial on my YouTube channel from her. When she looks at it, she feels more powerful and more empowered. It reflects back to her those higher dimensional aspects of who she is. The one on the right came from a kind of different energy. I was wanting to do more angels, and I just meditated. It was like, help me find some images, help me create an image that shows us talking to the angels, the angel being above and kind of sharing a transmission down to us people. And she's the one that came through, very powerful energy. I could feel her immediately when I was painting her. She has a huge message for humanity to raise their vibration, share their love. And she came through. And I love that there's this little angel in the corner. There's a being. You can see the people below being inspired and healed and uplifted by this energy.
They're both gorgeous. The one on the left there, that just screams, like you said, power and protection and safety. That's what I read from that. I think that's really lovely. And from the one on the right is peace and happiness. That's what it gives me. Yeah.
Yes, peace and happiness.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at another couple. This one on the left is intriguing to me. So tell me about that one.
Well, here I was asking my guides to show me not just the inner earth, but the dimensions of earth. Because, yes, we live here on the planet, but we live in a dimensional reality. And there's aspects of the planet that are in other dimensional frequencies. So these are the three frequencies that I was shown that we're in, the 3, 2, 1. You can see them. So going from the more 3D one up to 4th and up to 5th.
So what is what I can see, like shovels or spades, or are they crystals? What's going on with those?
Well, those are just energies that are showing the more pragmatic 3D aspect of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all the mountains and the waters over there as well. So they were just imagery that was used to create more of that earthiness on that first level.
Mm-hmm. And when I first looked at that one, I actually saw a chessboard. Like
Yeah, it started
a
off as
miniature chess. There you go. And that's interesting. This yellow one on the right, what is that? Is that like a doorway or an opening or some kind of
yes,
portal?
it is a portal. It
Mm-hmm.
is a big portal. So did some work last summer with the Stargate experience. I traveled with them to Greece and Egypt. And during those travels, they have a beautiful Stargate, and I started working with that Stargate, and it came to me to create my own Stargate. And this is a Stargate, meaning that we can go from here to the other side, and we're in another dimension. And this painting is so powerful that if you put it on your chest while you're meditating, I saw all these beings coming from the other side out to greet me. So it is a portal to other dimensional beings and other dimensional realities.
I want a portal. I want to have one of
It
those.
was great. This one is great to meditate with. And I really recommend actually putting it right on your body when you meditate.
That's interesting. I like that one too. Okay. So let's see about these ones. Okay.
Okay, so often, especially in meditation, I transport myself to other realms.
Mm-hmm.
And I had someone come up to me when I was showing this particular temple here, the Temple of the Blue Ray here. I had this woman come up. She couldn't speak English. She grabbed a translator and brought the translator over. And she said, Joan, this is a temple in another dimension. These come from, actually, she said, in another star system, in another galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you used to stand on those stairs and teach. You were our teacher right there in the middle of that temple. So it was very affirming.
Sure. Is that like a shiny floor, or is that supposed to be a pool of water?
That's like a pool.
It's water. Okay.
It's a pool of water reflecting back that blue ray, but this is a eighth dimensional or higher temple. And the fact that this strange woman I'd never met before came up, grabbed a translator to explain to me that she knew me from these other galaxies where these temples exist. On the right, before I went to Egypt, so I spent a month in Egypt last summer. I took 2 groups of people to Egypt. That's where I got named Cosmic Spiritual Leader or Guide, whatever. But I wanted to connect with the Egyptian feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Egyptian's very male. But I asked to be shown different images of the Egyptian high priestesses, and that's who she is.
I was going to say it looks very Egyptian to me. So.
It is very Egyptian, and the intent was Egypt because I wanted to get transmissions before I got to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And I call her the daughter of the Nile. She just has this very exotic energy to me. I love the red eye.
Yeah, definitely. That's a lovely painting too. Lovely. And this final one.
Oh, yes. Well, she is the angel of peace and serenity. I call her Serenity's oracle because she gives me the feeling of peace and calmness. And I get that feeling from the wings, the big wing on the left, that tall wing, and then the bird itself. I feel this sense of stillness. Going into that inner space and being at peace in stillness.
Mm-hmm. It's lovely. Very symbolic with the dove in it, isn't it?
I love the wings.
Yeah. It's very beautiful. Superb.
Thank you.
Artistry. I mean, they're absolutely stunning. I could sit and look at them for quite a while, because it calls to me, especially that that third 3-dimensional one. I thought that was really, I don't know, it just resonated with me, really resonated with me.
Well, they're all on my website, love. Mm-hmm. But they resonate with me too, and it took me a long time to share them. The other fun fact about me is that my family told me to never be an artist. They said you should only be a bookkeeper.
Well,
And
I'm glad you defied that
a
because they're
bookkeeper or
beautiful.
a teacher. And I flunked student teaching, and I definitely do not encourage you to hire me to do your books.
Noted, noted.
No, no, no.
So, do you do a lot of these paintings, these digital paintings? Do you do many of them?
I have done probably about 7,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very special.
Yeah.
They take me a long time to do. They're not just, like, oh, it's overnight. It takes a lot of energy because I think about you for days. It's like you're in my consciousness. So I'm walking around with you until certain hits come. It's not like they give it to me all at once. But I have done enough to know that this is a good process.
Yeah, well, when you're connecting with somebody energetically, that's very draining in itself. I know that from experience. When I'm healing somebody, I feel, after the hour session, I feel a little bit drained. So I can understand it would take a lot of time.
Right, but it's a process because it goes from the soul essence consultation to then the video, and we work together for that, and then we activate it. So the completion, when I can take my energy back, is after the activation, once it's in your home and activated to work with you. And it does take a special person who wants to see this aspect of yourself.
Yeah.
And to be reminded of who you really are is a great thing, because it's too easy to forget down here on the third level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Agree with that wholeheartedly. So what advice then can you give to individuals that are seeking to, find or activate their divine potential, their purpose?
Well, first thing I'm going to say is congratulations for knowing. Okay, knowing that you need to shift into something is the first part of healing, always.
Yeah.
And saying, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to know my purpose now. And in a way, that's important to say, I'm ready now. I'm ready, because up till now, if you don't know it, it's because you weren't ready. And then the second thing I would do, I believe in working with guides or mentors who've been there before who can help you. But if you can't, go back to your childhood and take out a big piece of paper, a poster board, put your name in the center, like the center of the wheel, and then start listing all the dreams you used to have as a child. Because your child self didn't have any limitations. Your child self thought that you could fly a motorcycle around the galaxy, or, whatever they thought you could do, impossible things. So write them all down, little circles around the circle, and then add the things that people report back to you about what you're good at. Like for me, they'll say, God, Joan, you have so much energy. It makes me feel energized just to be with you.
Yeah.
So I put that in. People get energized. People might feel safe with you. People might feel like they can tell you anything because you're a good listener. So we want to get that on this poster board. Then reach out to me. Create your poster board of all of those aspects, and then your memories, because many of you have past life flashes, and you don't know what they are, but you kind of see, oh, God, I feel like I was in Egypt. And we want to put that down there, because we have many soul aspects. And what happens is that as we grow up, they get fragmented. Maybe you're in a bad relationship. You gave your power away like I did. Or you had an abusive parent and you went into hiding, so you hid that aspect. So pulling out these pieces, when we do those sessions, it pulls out those pieces of you, and you begin to recognize and forgive yourself for not being perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big part of it, isn't it? Self-forgiveness. Yeah. Yeah. So how can someone then discern their true calling amidst all these societal expectations and personal desires? How do they get over all that?
Well, the key thing is, does it make your heart sing? So it gets back to, is it knocking your socks off your feet? Is it exciting to you? Does it feel like, oh my God, that is me? And I want to get back to, actually, we all have a similar soul purpose. And I teach this in a class that I'm going to be teaching on turning on your power, purpose, and passion.
Mm-hmm.
Our main purpose this life is to remember who we are and to turn up our light. And we actually don't know what we're supposed to do, because you see, there's a difference between your purpose and what you do. So my sole purpose is to help people remember. What I do is I do it through coaching, or I do it through art, or I do it through classes or retreats. That's what I do. There's a big difference between the two. So what you're really wanting to know is, what is that song that I sing? Like, honestly, these days I say I'm here to help you live your best life. I could sing it to you about living your best life, because that turns me on. And the way I do it is a little different than just singing it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you need to do for your own life. It's like, what is that thing that always resonates with me? Like, oh, I love to listen to people. I love walking dogs. There's certain things that start to give you clues. So we want you to do that poster board so we get your clues first.
Yeah, but write down what you like to do and almost the things that you're not too keen on. Mm-hmm.
Because your purpose, is really about you remembering, you turning up your light, and you listening to that voice within.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your inner voice. Yeah, absolutely. From your perspective, then, how does the energetic blocks? How do we manifest? How do we create them? Why are they there?
Well, they're there for several reasons. One is that when you learn to let go of them, then you learn the lessons, you transmute it into fuel on your ascension path. Like, for instance, I hid in closets. I was really shy. One of my lessons this life, and it's been a big lesson, is how to become a leader, or how to feel confident enough to be a leader. So honestly, I've had no confidence. And most of my life, I've had to struggle. I was a leader as a chiropractor, but then I felt so downgraded that I couldn't lead anymore. So in a sense, we need to learn. I don't even know where I'm going with that, but I kind of lost myself now.
That's okay. That's all right. We'll move on. Your artwork is absolutely incredible. It's just so vibrant, all these colours. So I suppose, can you explain to us how, I know you say you channel this energy into your art. Can you talk us a little bit through that process so that we can understand what you actually go through and experience?
Well, let's say I'm creating a physical painting. I turn on my favorite angel music, all the time. So it could be a meditation. Usually it's music, though. And I will sit down and I'll first connect to my guides. It's like, well, what do you want me to paint today? Or I'll have a feeling about it. Like, I'll wake up going, how do you get to heaven? Like, I'll have this question in my head. They must know I'm going to paint today, because I'll hear something like, how do I paint? How do I find my way to heaven? And before I know it, I'm listening to music, and I'm doing some chanting, listening to toning, sort of depends. And then I'll just take my paintbrush and I'll think about heaven. And before you know it, something really does emerge. That is how I paint. In the beginning, when I started 33 Angels in 30 days, many of them were done with my eyes closed and the canvas upside down, as I just went like this. And they were guiding my hand. And that's kind of like automatic writing.
Sure.
When I do it digitally, it's a little different, but it's actually the same. I go into the same trance. So the trance is the same. It's orgasmic in a sense. It's like I have this passion that comes through me, and it takes over my hand, it takes over my computer, it takes over my paintbrush, and it's almost orgasmic until it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the process. And then I turn off the music, I get up, and I go have a cup of tea. I'm back in the real world.
Well, I was going to ask you, are you seeing images that you're then putting on paper or creating digitally, or do you feel like they're taking over your hands and actually painting for you?
sometimes they're taking over my hands. And when I see them digitally, it's like I see a whole lot of them crossing by. They'll just come and then go. And I don't know how to capture that. I've always wanted a camera in my brain. Probably Elon Musk will create that. But other than that, it just passes by, but it always inspires me. And I think that it's not my hand. Although I feel like I'm a primitive artist. So my digital art's more sophisticated. It's easier. They take over the computer.
They take over the computer. Don't take over you. They take over the PC.
Me and the computer, because it's almost like I'm in a trance-like state.
That's amazing.
I like that state.
So how does your paintings then help others on their journey?
You should hear the reports I get about the art.
Yeah.
I offer a very special service. Once you get, if you order the art online and you get it home, then you can set up an appointment with me for an art activation. And the art activation, I think I'm the only one that does that. We align your body, mind, heart, and soul with the painting. We raise your energy. I actually have you hold the art in your lap and we meditate together. We run that energy I was telling you about, roots to the earth and through the painting, and your antenna through the heavens. And so we run this energy through you and the painting. Then we infuse it with your intentions and your affirmations and what you're seeking. And kind of we put it all together. And then the painting can actually work with you for healing, works with you for wisdom. I mean, seriously, people tell me the art channels information. The art causes them to kind of vibrate. They feel more aligned. And the energy in your house is as high as a big crystal might do for you, or even higher, because it's attuned to you. Very specific. And that goes for the soul essence portraits or any art that you get off the website. They're all already activated for miracles. I do that specifically in everything I do, but if you want it activated to your soul level, then we do that separately.
Okay. So you've had quite a few good testimonials then. Is there one or a couple that you can share with us?
About the art, I have Elizabeth April's testimonial. She did a video. And if you want to stop, we can play the video. I think I put it on my YouTube channel.
I'm not able to do that from here, but maybe you could give me the link to it and I could put it in the description.
I'll send you
Elizabeth
April's testimonial, because that was profound. She talked about why she bought it and what it's done for her.
Nice. That's really
and
nice.
Hashtag Elizabeth April. She's got a big following.
Okay. All right. So do you offer any classes? Do you have online classes or any types of resources that people can utilize to get started?
Well, I'm restarting up my YouTube channel. We have a new show that's launching June called Shine Your Brilliance. Shine your brilliance and live your best life now. That's kind of the tagline for it. So it should be a very exciting show. And I have a lot of great things on the YouTube channel. But what I also do, and what I also have, is different classes that I've been offering and that I will be offering. So if you sign up on the email list, you'll hear about some of the new workshops that I'm going to be doing, the live ones. I do have a class called Master Your Superpowers, which, by the way, is a very good class for you to get that, learning how to trust that voice within. And then I have another one about your superpowers, your intuition, how to find my true soul purpose is on there. So there are some nifty classes that you can take as well.
Okay. And I know that you've got a free offer for the viewers if they want to take you up on that. And I'll put the QR code on screen if you could tell us about that.
So that's a free ebook. It's a beginning to launching your own soul purpose, your life purpose. So that's a free ebook on how to know your life purpose. And then I have a couple of other things about your life purpose as well. And I also do readings, guys. I do the soul awakening sessions to wake you up, to help you remember, to help you let go of what's in your way now, of being your best self ever. And notice I use words like living your best life, being your best self, being the kind of person that you adore and admire. So I started this path after that horrible relationship I had. I went, God, I can't even trust myself. And I had no self-respect. And I made a decision, a commitment to become the kind of woman I admired. And for the next 20 years, I actually was determined to transform myself into someone I admired. Mm. And so, honestly, that's what we do. We turn you into someone you love, adore, and admire.
Okay, that sounds good. So what is coming up for you for the rest of this year or maybe into next year? What have you got planned? Have you got any big projects or any big courses coming out or retreats like you mentioned? What have you got going on?
A lot of things are in the planning stages. So I am planning a 6-week course. It's called something like Power On, turn on your power, your light, your energy, anything with power. But that's going to be a 6-week class, and that's going to lead to my mastermind. That's going to be weekly, and a retreat down in Acapulco. So those are things I'm planning. I'm speaking in Barcelona in June. So I have travel plans. I'm going to be up in Santa Fe, checking out the art scene during the middle of the summer. I'm still a digital nomad, meaning that I don't have a permanent residence right now. And I'm learning to live in the moment until I hear that call that says, this is home, Joan. Stop. This is where you're home. And until I hear that, I'm open to exploring different places.
So you're going off to Barcelona, my goodness. Yeah.
Yes, I'm an international speaker, and I do speak abroad. Last year I spoke in Egypt and in Glastonbury.
Glastonbury in England?
Yes, in the UK.
That's a very powerful place. I've been there just once. But yeah, the energies there are hot, is the only way I can express it. I think it was very high vibrational.
Very high vibrational and hot, but in a hot spiritual meaning, because it's always
it's cold there. Yes, always. Welcome to the UK. Yes, I hope you've got your warm slippers with you.
Right.
Well, that was a wonderful conversation. Your art is absolutely incredible, and I'm really glad I got the chance to chat with you today. Joan, thank you very much for coming on and talking to us.
I am so grateful that we connected. I love working with you, Dawn. I love your energy. I love teaching people about how to transcend and succeed because they go hand in hand. And you're a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure. I always love talking to people that I'm on the same wavelength with.
Yeah. So I just want to let people know that they can find me at joanofangels.com. Joan of Angels.
Yes, it's a beautiful name for a very beautiful lady. And thank you very much once again. And thank you to the viewers, whether you're watching on demand or on live. And just until next time, just take care of yourself and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Dr. Joan. Bye, sweetheart.